Hey, what's up, everybody? Andrew Dawson here with Operation for Freedom. The Sound of Freedom, the movie, is out by Angel Studios, came out on July 4th, and we've had numerous people ask us about this movie, and so I thought it would be important to make a video and just share my thoughts and opinions, concerns, as well as last night I text a few survivor leader friends of ours who we've had the honor of working with to get their opinion about this movie, what it's about, and just their thoughts on it. So I want to share those thoughts with you today. So I'm going to also answer some questions too. We've had numerous people ask us questions about this movie, and I just want to answer some of those, and hopefully it helps. It's going to be a good video. Here we go. Okay, so I've had numerous friends ask me about what I thought about this movie, The Sound of Freedom. It's Tim Ballard's organization, Operation Underground Railroad. Jim Caviezel is the actor who's been pushing it. Huge awareness campaign, low budget film, maybe not low budget, but not your typical Hollywood blockbuster budget. And it's going to be in theaters the next 2 months. A lot of people are going to go see it. And I've been thinking about this movie for a couple months now, just knowing it's going to come out and what my response would be and what people would think about it. And I went and saw it last night, and I want to share my thoughts with this. But first, one of the things that's important to us in our organization is to be survivor-led and survivor-informed. And really what that means is that you inquire the opinion and advice of survivor leaders who have been through the life, who have come out of the life and are at a place in their walk and healing journey where they can start inputting back into organizations like us and really strategically research-based guide us through our outreach and the things that we do and targets we try to hit to make sure that they are real and they're meaningful and they don't trigger more trauma, and we're doing the right thing, and it's the right thing to do for these individuals who are caught in exploitation. And so I immediately text a couple friend of ours, and I just want to read you their responses based on the movie. I don't know if you've seen the movie yet. If you haven't, I'm not going to tell you any spoilers, but this was their response after watching the movie. And I was really curious about this. I really was. Like, what are they going to think about this movie? These were young ladies who were exploited in the United States right here. And here's some of the messages I got back from them. So just reaching out and saying, hey, what'd you think? So this first young lady, really good friend of ours, she just sent me this. It says this: I've seen several movies about human trafficking and have mixed feelings about them. It depends on how the movie is directed, but I feel like they always make it seem like it's only the extreme experience when it's also the people around us every day. That's good. It's powerful. The other message I got back was, one of the others was another young lady. She said this: my situation wasn't like the girls in the movie at all. I was in a relationship, and now I know I was groomed into the life over a long period of time. I love the awareness, but it's not awareness for my situation and the girls I've known in the life in the United States. I just thought that was powerful to get their opinion of this representation that's going into theaters all across America over the next couple months, and to get their thoughts on what the movie portrays as trafficking and what their situation was like. And I know that the movie was focused on one or two stories that the organization and this guy who he was focused on is kind of his story. And I think that's important to know. It was more his story in this movie. It was focused on that, and it wasn't focused on global trafficking, in the United States and everywhere, what it looks like in the entire world. It's a complex issue, and so it's hard. It would be hard to make a movie about like what the trafficking looks like in the United States and what it looks like in third world countries, like this movie's focused on. And so I think this is an important thing we've got to really pay attention to when we watch movies like this. Obviously, I'm excited and happy for the awareness, but we've got to put that into perspective and know, like, this isn't every survivor's story at all. So here's my honest opinion. I just wrote down some thoughts. Here's my whether they matter to you or not. Here's my honest opinion. So the good and the bad. So the good is, I think it's a good thing that Angel Studios has fought this battle to share this message. And finally, after a long time, I think I heard it's been in production, and they've been trying to get it to theaters for like 5 years, and they've had a lot of pushback. Obviously, because it's more of a religious-based movie, and it has to do with trafficking, and it's a low budget, not low budget, but under budget film. And I think it's a good thing that they got this out and have begun to raise awareness. I think awareness for the issue of human trafficking in general is a good thing when people's minds are pointed towards human trafficking. How that looks, that's a different subject. But getting exposed to something so horrible in this field is moving emotionally, but I believe it's necessary for us in any kind of humanitarian focus or missional focus, where we have to get to a point where we're moved emotionally. And so I feel like this movie does that. I was in the theater last night watching this movie, and if you're a parent, it moves you emotionally. And so no matter what your thoughts are, I know quite a few other organizational leaders. I know people who work as advocates in this field, and I've had conversations with them about the movie coming out. And no matter your thoughts on the organization behind the movie and their ethics and any kind of controversy that's involved with the organization, no matter if you set that aside, and I don't want to really get into that and be a person who's bashing this other organization. I'm just not that kind of leader. I feel like we can do the work we do that God has called us to, and we can do the good we're called to, and without having, I don't have time. We just don't have time to focus on like all the controversies and being the police of trafficking organizations. But no matter what your thoughts are, whether good or bad on the organization behind the movie itself brings an awareness to trafficking in a powerful way. People are sitting in a theater for 2 hours. I mean, you're there 2 hours watching this heartbreaking story unfold, and it's good awareness. People are moved emotionally, and I think that can be a great springboard for organizations to begin to curb the narrative as people leave those theaters and connect in their communities. If they're moved to action, which I think is important, if they're moved to action, then organizations can come alongside those people, help educate, and show them how trafficking is affecting our kids, our family members, vulnerable individuals in our communities in a powerful way. So I think that's the good. I think it's good in general for awareness. The bad is people are going to be emotionally moved and not take any action. They're going to be really drawn to this story and heartbroken, again, especially if you have kids or grandkids, and you're going to be heartbroken, but are you going to be moved to action after this? The movie really hyper focuses on one aspect of trafficking, and I think this is important to know too. And this could be a bad or good, I don't know, just you can take it for what it's worth, but this is just my thoughts. The movie is hyper focused on this one aspect of trafficking, which is cartel overseas in really third world countries. That's really the focus of the movie. And so it's a hyper focus of this one aspect of trafficking. And after talking with survivor leaders in our world, it's not showing that entire picture. Now, obviously you can't make a movie about everything, in 2 hours. So I understand writers had to, and the organization had to work together to make this one story happen. So I understand like that probably couldn't happen. But the bad would be just in general, those who watch this movie would be hyper-focused on that kind of trafficking and put blinders on to what's happening in their communities and not get educated and not know what's happening in their community. They would just think, hey, this is happening there. This is happening overseas. I'm sure it happens here, but I don't know. I only know what I know out of this movie. And we go on about our lives after being emotionally moved for a couple hours, and then we're back to our day-to-day. So that would probably be the bad in my view. But overall, man, I'm not, going after the movie saying this is horrible. Millions of people will see this and be focused on the issue of human trafficking, and that gives us an opportunity. So here's some questions that have been emailed to me, sent my way, or text by friends, family, coworkers, people in the fields, people in churches, donors, supporters, whatever, that have popped up. I got a lot more than this. I'm just going to share 3 of those with you that I think would help us navigate this time where this movie's coming out and help us to move forward in a good way. Why do people in the field or law enforcement think of the movie? I'm not in law enforcement. I work with law enforcement, but I'm not with them. But I do know one conversation I had was about how the movie's focused solely on this one person's story. And we, in missions, in missional work as missionaries, there's this great white savior complex that you hear about. It's kind of a basic term, but, the goal is to build a team. The goal is to not have something focused so much on one person's personality. With law enforcement, it's a team effort. There's typically not a Rambo character who runs into the jungle and rescues a girl on any operation. It's a team effort. It's very much co-led by multiple organizations and multiple departments, and there's a lot of people involved, a lot of moving pieces. In reality, I think that's really how it looks. Obviously, that doesn't make a great story when there's not some hero character. So I understand how the writers had to take their liberty and to add in this kind of fiction to make it this Rambo character who goes in. And I think that's what law enforcement, other people who work in this field would look at and go, okay, I understand you're telling a story, but in reality, it's a team of people who are going to make this happen. Advocates and aftercare organizations and operations and investigators, people who are just coming together to make one life have an opportunity to choose the life they choose and to get out of a controller's hands. So why do people in the field or law enforcement think of this? Probably something similar to that. It's a little fictionalized. It's a little hero-based. Rambo kind of going in based on one man's story. And one hero person. Another question here is how do you actually rescue someone or do this work in our communities? So typically there's a lot of ways there's many spokes to this wheel when it comes to the term rescue. And I really don't use the term or try not to use the term rescue all the time. Rescue is a process, a long process, not an event, like a one-time event. But maybe that's semantics. Maybe it's just me being me. But, how it actually works in a lot of ways, like with law enforcement, they usually have vice units or specific task forces who are focused on trafficking and high trafficking areas. A lot of times with just your regular law enforcement personnel or agents or officers or they're going to see an abnormality in a situation on a house call or they show up on scene somewhere and they see an abnormality because they've been trained and then that red flag pops off and then they make a decision to investigate more and then end up being able to help a victim out of a situation. With organizations like us and other organizations who work in human trafficking, we do direct outreach. We physically go out on the streets or we physically help to find missing kids for families who their kids are gone missing. Law enforcement is in partnership with us, and we go physically out on the streets and make this happen, or we do direct outreach to prostituted women on the streets. And a majority of these cases, in our experience, is these are groomed individuals who have been doing this a long time, and it wasn't an abduction, and it wasn't a person snatched from the street as they were walking down and then forced into the life, taped or duct taped into a basement somewhere. But it's more of a psychological conditioning, and I think that's what the movie portrays, is more of abduction based. Which in general is in the United States anyway. I don't work outside the United States much. And so in the United States, I would say a majority, if not all, of the cases of human trafficking that we've worked with are slow grooming cases where this individual has been groomed over a long period of time. And so how we find those people is we're able to partner with families who are in crisis, who are looking for their kids, or reach out directly to these individuals that are in the life and they're found on online ads or they're on the streets. And we're able to go to them, build relationship with them through our advocates to then pull them out of the life. So that's basically how that happens. So Last question here. Do you think this movie will be good for your fields and help you in your work with OPF? I would say hands down, yeah, it's going to help us. Not everyone in the work would probably agree with me on this. It's also going to stir up a lot of questions. People are going to be, hyper focused, like I said, on overseas work and child abductions into cartel rings. But overall, it's going to bring an awareness, and I think it gives us an opportunity. And I think if you look at this the right way, you can take something that maybe would be a distraction to really be a great opportunity. People are moved emotionally. People are aware of the situation, and then those individuals who you can connect with, who we can connect with, who want to do something about it. And I think that's key is those individuals who are moved to action. I feel like there's going to be a lot of people who will watch this movie who will just go on about their lives, and in a few months they'll be like, yeah, I watched that movie. It was heartbreaking, and nothing changed. But the people who watch the movie and say, I watched that movie, I've got to do something about this issue, those people who choose to take action, those are the kind of people that we want to partner with and we want to work with and begin to help walk them through this journey of education and becoming trauma-informed and survivor-led, and then begin to do this work in their communities, become community leaders and do work in their hometowns and rural or city, it doesn't matter, but somebody who's willing to take action. I think this is an opportunity for organizations like us to partner with those people who are at that point and wanting to make a difference. So that's just me answering that question. Do you think this movie will be good for your fields and help you in your work with OPF? I think so. Yeah, millions of people are going to see this movie, and it gives us an opportunity. So the real question here, as I wrap this up, is how are you going to respond? I just mentioned that earlier, but how are you going to respond? You've watched the movie. Maybe you're going to see the movie. How are you going to respond afterwards? How are you going to take action in this? And final thoughts. It's a well-made movie. It's a heart-wrenching movie, especially if you have kids or grandkids of your own. I have 2 daughters, and so it's a heart-wrenching movie to watch. And if you're an empathetic person with a parent whose kid has gone missing, it's gonna move you emotionally. But I hope it moves you physically. Like, I hope you take action after this moment and connect in your world, connect in your state. Look for organizations who are doing this work in a real way. I always say find the people who are doing the work, not the organizations. We're really good at marketing these days. I mean, it's really easy to market, but find the people who are doing the work and find someone who's doing this work and partner with them. There's a lot of great resources out there that can help change your community for the good if you're willing to be that leader. And so I would say, yeah, go see the movie. I mean, millions of people will, and let it move you, let it change you, let it inspire you to take action. So you need to be moved. You need to be emotionally made aware. You need to have empathy for someone else. You need to get outside of your selfishness and who you are and your problems and realize, hey, there's a lot of people in poverty and in have food insecurity and in vulnerable places that need hope and help out of the life. And so that's it. That's my thoughts on The Sound of Freedom, this new movie about human trafficking and the work of Tim Ballard. That's my thoughts on it. And I hope you found this helpful. So if you guys like this kind of video and content, I'm going to be making more of this here in the studio, here in the house, to do trainings. I already have probably half a dozen videos made that'll be coming out soon. So if you want to like and subscribe, if you've already made it this far in the video, go ahead and like, subscribe to this, and hit the bell so you know when our videos pop up. We'd love to connect, and hopefully we'll see you next time.